Today on One Man Garage, I guess I'll see about maybe starting the pocket port little quick job on the 6X-8 heads from my friend's 455 that's been on a hold status through the winter. Got the little surface rust that formed here. I'll be cleaning that when I'm done after we blow all the grounds out from grinding. And basically on these heads are typical deep port Pontiac heads. You got like the short radius on the exhaust here, a big old ridge right there. And basically you just run your finger to go and you're like, well, that isn't good. So we're just going to be taking that out and just try to make the path feel like a continuous curve. Nothing to it. Intake side, not as bad as exhaust, but still kind of like the end of a football kind of a shape down in here. So, you know, just a little quick, just a little smoothing here and there. We might take a little bit of these edges off the long side radius of the intake bowl, but mostly it's just going to be the short turn exhaust and short turn intake, and maybe just a little touch up on the long radius. That's it, no more. I mean, it's like a gain in low lift flow, and it's only going to have like a 472 lift camshaft anyway. 9-to-1 compression. Nothing super hot, just a fun street car tire shredder. So anyway, we're going to use my old toolbox that's emptied out because I got my new one from my loving wife for Christmas. A little husky job that's got crap all over, but at least my tools are in it now. And this box, this rubber one, is beat up. The drawers don't work very well, but I decided to put carburetor stuff in it. So it is now a mobile carburetor rolling junk pile, kind of like the garage is, you know, non-mobile junk pile. So anyway, adios. You know, you get one of these burr bits like this, you've got to be really careful because this thing's already had a valve job, so don't want to slip and run it across that. It's going to take the metal off and screw that up quick. But also, I used to only use the Dremel like this with the composite stone, and it does a nice job, but it takes longer and gives you a nicer finish, but it's more time consuming. You go through the bits. This thing will take stuff off. You got to be real easy on the pressure because it'll just eat it alive. Already got the exhaust side pretty well done on all the short side all the way across, and did half the intakes already. And I mean, this is not taking long at all. You might be able to see some of this versus I haven't done this yet. So just, you know, just doing short side radiuses, just home hot rodding, little cheap stuff here. Well, anyway, I usually use the black wheel bearing grease with the extreme pressure stuff, Molly stuff, but this was handy, so I'm just I cleaned all the, you know, dust, the shavings out with air compressor, get all these guides clean and valves clean, blew off the work area, and I put just a light coat of grease on the stems, so there'll be some good startup lubrication, because, you know, before the engine oil works its way around later. So I've never had a problem. It's always worked good on heads I assemble, you know, just using some kind of wheel bearing grease or assembly lube, but not just like a white lithium. I like to use the heavier grease because, you know, it'll stay in there. And it's so the other thing we're going to do is I'm going to close the valves, but since this is going to sit to the side, I'm not doing the valve springs just yet. I'm going to tape the foil tape right here. I'm going to put it over the ports to seal it off, and then leave the head standing up with the valves pushed in all the way, and that should kind of keep the ports clear and clean. So that's what's going on now. We got tape. Hopefully it won't fall off, but she's on there. Shout out to Gus. Well, we got the 4 exhausts done on the second head already, and this is not a max effort. This is not professional, but it's just making junk a little bit less junky, and it does help. I mean, the short side radius and exhaust is pretty poor on these, and the intake is not as bad on the short radius, but it's still such a quick and easy fix to get that better shape transition and not have, it does nothing but help. Now on the flip side, this old Dremel that used to be all I had. I did a set of, and it was the only time I ever did a set of Mopar heads. A long time ago I did some stock valve, small valve smog, 452 casting, 440 heads from a 76 or 77 Chrysler New Yorker we pulled the motor out of to build for a 74 Dart Sport that we swapped the 440 into. And I took my time and did a fairly extensive bowl pocket only. I don't even think I gasket matched it. I just used those stones and the Dremel and just kept working the intake bowls because it had a lot of, similar to this, it had a lot of defects just right below the valve in the pocket. And it had the smallest, valves and everything. Well, I actually took those to the flow bench, our port guy, Lloyd Elliott, and had him flow those after I was done. And I'm pretty proud of myself with stock little smog valves, stock style valve job, no tricks. Basically, and he flows the same heads stock with no porting on his same bench because he ports those heads himself. And the intake flowed like 270 something CFM and like 195 on the exhaust or 197 when I was done with him. And he told me that they only flow about 220 or 210 or something stock. Added almost close to 50 CFM on the intakes just doing bowl work with stock valves. So if that's not worth something, I don't know what is. And then plus that motor had the real horrid below deck crap smog pistons, and I had found a standard bore set of dome TRWs that as old as that 74 Dodge we were putting the motor in, and put those in it. So that motor was actually over 10 to 1. Might have been 10-3 to 1, I'm not sure. It had a little Lunati 6-pack replacement cam. I think it was only 220 something duration at 50 on a 110. It's pretty octane sensitive. It was a really pretty small cam. Didn't really take advantage of the head flow, but that car did not get a stall converter in it or anything, but it did go to the rear wheel dyno with a stock stall, and it had a Torquer 2 single plane intake, so it would clear the hood but flow up top, but without a stall behind it. We really needed a dual plane on that motor. But that thing rear wheel dynoed with a torque flat 727 trans and an 8.8 forward rear axle. It did I believe it did 335 horse to the wheels through an automatic and 400 foot-pounds. So it was, quite strong. So, at the flywheel, that was a pretty solid 400 and something horsepower engine and probably 500 and something foot-pounds of torque at the flywheel. So it was no turd, I promise you that. But anyway, we're going to flip this and do the intake side and then blow out the crap out of it and like the others and get them assembled. I'm really pleased how quick and easy these intake short radiuses have turned out, so quick and fast. Something that I don't know if it'll make sense to anybody, but your fingertip, is so sensitive. I like to describe feeling the shape as seeing it with your fingers. You can feel the turn, and you just almost don't even have to look at it. You can just close your eyes and just feel the transition, and you can feel the shape. Like, is this dropping off or is this a continuous turn? That's what you want, that continuous turn without anything that catches your attention. No drop-offs or sharp edges, just a continuous curve. So that's what you're wanting. You're supposed to, I don't know, I sometimes put time on the top part here, but these are pretty clean. There isn't bad. The big winds was just on the short side. And, these heads are, without massive port job, going to be limited on horsepower potential. It's mostly just good torque, pump gas combo. Any kind of 455 or bigger Pontiac's going to need a much bigger aftermarket cylinder head to make any big horsepower numbers. You know, these heads could be ported and make 500 horse with more porting. This motor combo might be 425 to 440 horse with 525, 540 torque, something like that. That's kind of what I'm guessing. You know, if it makes 425 and 525, say it matches the power of the Gen 6 Vortec and the C10, but it's in a 800-pound lighter car, well, so it runs, you know, high 7s in the 8th and runs low 12s. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe it'll run 1190s, maybe it'll run 1220s or 1250s. I don't know. We'll see, maybe this year. I don't know. That's on Gus. Well, adios, folks. Maybe later this weekend I can get the valve springs in order and do some assembly on those heads. Weather's coming in cold tomorrow, so maybe I'll poke around the garage and round up the stuff I'm using on those. And Saturday or Sunday, maybe I can check all the installed heights with the retainers and spring seat pressures and see if we're good to go for assembly at One Man Garage.